Hi, I'm Anna Owens, and today I'm going to be talking about the batucada. It is a subsection of the samba uh, in uh, Brazil and specifically Rio de Janeiro. It is a percussive style, and it's usually performed by an ensemble of a certain instruments I'm about to show you, and it's characterized by repetitive, fast-paced call and response that takes place during the piece. So, real quick, I'm gonna go through the instruments you can see behind me that these students from University of Michigan are holding, and then I'm gonna play for you a batucada, and they're doing a traditional one here. After that, I'll show you one that is done on the streets in Rio de Janeiro by a group, and you'll see more of the samba dancing that takes place with it. But to start off the instruments, so I'm going to start with the person who's doing the call. So this man right here, he's doing the call. He's playing a repique. He's playing with a stick in his hand, and that is very typical. You can play with two sticks, but typically, traditionally, it is played with one hand and a stick. And he will be playing a call, and these will be responding. So our next instrument will be this tiny one right here. He's holding it in his hand and he's playing with one stick. It's called a tamborium. It sounds like a tambourine, and you could say it's about that shape and size, but it is a drum that's just in high pitch and played with a stick here. You can also play it with plastic fibers, and I believe these may be actually plastic fibers, but I can't tell in this video. But you can play it with a stick that's divided up into little plastic fibers, and it will hit it, and it will sound less of a pointed sound and more of a spread sound. Next up, we'll go to this drum here. This drum here is it's called a terol. It's a thinner snare drum. It's about the size, in this group, it's about the size of a snare drum. You'll see a better example of that in the next video, actually, that I'm going to show you. And these two drums here, so this very big one and this very big one, these both are called surdos. They're over 50 centimeters across. That is the standard for a surdo. They are the heartbeat of the batucada. They are the ones that keep everyone going, and they emphasize and articulate the second and fourth beat of each measure. And you'll see that, and that's what everyone else is following throughout this. Let me get this back up here. So, those big ones, once again, like I was saying, surdos, they are going to emphasize the second and fourth beat. You'll be able to hear that in this one. You'll also be able to hear it in the next one, and it's a little more interesting in the next one because they actually have like a surdo solo almost happening. And there's two other instruments that are normally in this ensemble that aren't here, and I'll actually address those in the next video after this and talk about those a little more. But for now, I'm going to show you an example of what they're doing here, and you can listen to them and listen specifically for the surdo. So with that, you could definitely hear the call and response and what was taking place, and you could hear that at the end they had even the timborium came out and was doing its own rhythm above everything else, and then everything else was playing underneath and kind of flowing underneath of it. So now I'm going to show you one performed in Rio de Janeiro by native Brazilians, and they're a group that perform this regularly, and we're gonna see a totally different and very fascinating way of things being done. And you'll see the samba style come out in this video also. And already, let me point out, you can see you have surdos across the front. And then this is the collar right here, this guy in the sweater. And you can see right here, he has a tarot, which is the smaller snare drum. And right here, there's another one. There's more back here, but you can't see them. But they're playing them here. They're thinner snare drums. And you can see also already a difference. They are playing with 2 mallets. And in the last group we were watching, they were playing with 1 in their hand, which you can do both. But here we go. Let's watch a little bit. So, right there you hear the 2nd and 4th beat being emphasized on that surdo. You could hear it because of dun 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 every time. So you can hear they're specifically emphasizing those beats with the surdos. And you can see they lifted him up, they gave him a little solo, and you can also see they're dancing. So they're bringing the actual dance in with the drums, which is a huge part of the culture there. One of the reasons I did this was because I love the dance culture and the carnival that they put on there, and that they have these deeply rooted beats happening. But this is just showing how they do it. All of this is happening with percussion. Now there's one instrument here that I haven't talked about that they have here. You can't see it very well right now, so let me play it so it comes out a little better. Okay, so the camera moves over a little bit, and now you can see what I'm going to talk about. So this instrument is called a reco-reco. It's not spelled like that, so don't think that it's H, like E-C-O. It's actually R, but in Spanish it's pronounced reco-reco. And so what that is a hollow wooden instrument, usually wooden, with rigs on the side that it can be scraped with a stick or hit. And here you see a modern version of that. This yellow thing right here. This is a reco-reco. It is plastic, but that's what the modern ones look like. I'm going to show you an example of what a traditional one looks like, and it's actually going to be metal because that's what they're using now for other things. You're going to see that it's metal with springs on it. They have different kinds, but they're all called reco-recos. But this one's more of a traditional one as far as the look, even though it's made of an untraditional material. The one you're gonna see in a minute is one that's not quite traditional, though it sounds traditional. So,
Hi there, my name is Michael Miranda, and
so we're gonna hear this, and this guy's giving, you can see the spelling right there actually. He's giving a lesson, but we're just gonna listen to him play real quick. If you look at it already, you can tell it's metal and that it has springs running up and down it.
but normally you don't play it like this. You are playing the stroke faster, and I press a little bit more. Yes, so I play only the first.
So there you hear it. You can tell that those are springs on there. And he was even showing that depending on which way you're going, whether you're going towards your body or away from it, the sound changes. So right now what he was doing was he was going down and then up. But he's going to switch that and go up and then down. I'm not going to show the whole video because he takes a long time and talks in between, but that's just an example of that heko heko. Now, for our activity, I don't have any of the drums at all, but I do have pots. And if you look at it, it looks very similar to a tarot, kind of. Thin snare, but it's metal. So I'm gonna try to kind of mimic for you what would be taking place on these. So like I said, the surdo specifically is the heartbeat of batucada, and it is always emphasizing the second and fourth beat. So that was just a really simple, really simple. It's just light tap, big tap. But as you saw, they make it much more complicated. Now I can't do those. I could try, but I can't do them. But I can mimic the call they were having. So at one point, you had the Hapnike, who was making a call, and he was using a stick and a hand. I only have my two hands, so I'm going to use my two hands, but he would go, and they would respond with the same rhythm. So if I were to change that rhythm, they would respond again. So say I change it again, they would respond again. So you can see how, you could even have this not even put together, and it would be a call, a response. So no one has to even know. It's a very communal thing. You don't have to have sheet music for it. You have one person making a call with a rhythm. You have other people responding to it. And then if you do get advanced enough, it can be like that group where they're organizing a dance with it. They're having a great time dancing and playing, and they know when they're going to have this solo part, and it gets all more complicated. But it all started with people drumming and people responding and playing the same rhythm back on different instruments. So, overall, in conclusion, I thought this was really cool. I thought it was really fascinating how every instrument is being beat on with something, but it all sounds completely different, and it makes you want to dance. I don't know about you, but watching the group perform in the Rio de Janeiro, that was so cool. And it gives you that kind of little drum line. You think a little bit of a drum line esque type thing, but it's so different when you see them with a drum so much bigger, and they're holding it around their waist and they're dancing with it, and it's crazy. Thanks so much for watching this, and I hope you dig in and look a little more at uh, what a batucada is, and maybe watch it, maybe bring it to your own school or place, and explore it a little more because it's very, very cool.